How's it going, everybody? I am Brandon Parker, the Communications Manager with the NFLPA, and I have the privilege and pleasure of talking with my guy, Don Davis, who's the Senior Director of Player Affairs for the NFLPA, but he also has a strong resume from his playing days. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots, played with the Saints along with other teams, so it's good to have you, man.
Thank you.
Good to be working with you, too. He's a wealth of knowledge. But we're going to kind of pick your brain some today, just what it was like playing in that experience and how you've carried that over to your career here at the NFLPA. So, I guess when a lot of people hear you play for the Patriots, they're like, what's it like playing for Bill Belichick and in that system? But not only that, how do you think that experience has helped you in your role here at the NFLPA?
It's a great question. I learned a lot about leadership from the Belichick regime and being in New England. I started out in New Orleans, and we had Jim Moore Sr., his son, the young Moore is coaching at UCLA now. He coached in the league some time, and we were dysfunctional. We weren't very good. We only won 3 games my first year in the NFL, and I'm like, man, is this the league? I went from there to Tampa with the great Tony Dungy. He was building a program. So I was with a terrible organization. I was with an organization in Tampa that was building and became, they won a Super Bowl after I left there. In Coach Dungy, really high character, quality individuals he brought in. And then I went to St. Louis, who had just come off a Super Bowl. So I saw what it was like to have a professional Super Bowl environment, made it all the way to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots. Then 2 years later, I go to the Patriots, and then I see the machine. I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about, everybody wants to be the chief, but nobody's willing to be an Indian sometime. And you got to know, right, which one you are. And understanding that when you are the chief, though, like with Bill Belichick, it's his way or the highway, but he's willing to take the bullets that come with that, right? What happens oftentimes, I think, is people want to be the chief, but then they want to deflect when things go wrong.
Right.
And I think that's what I learned most about leadership and while I was there in my time in New England.
And so when you talk to the players now, he just came off the road going to all 32 teams and the meetings and just letting the guys know what we as a union do for them. So when you talk to these guys and they know that you have that experience, like in what ways do you kind of maybe weave some of those stories in there? Or maybe if you have like an example of a good talk that you had with a guy this year.
On all our 32 teams, there's always a guy typically who is 0 to 3 years, because 60% of our players right now are 0 to 3 years credited seasons in the league. And they are undrafted rookie free agents like me. I was an undrafted rookie free agent. So sometimes what they think is, if they hear me tell a story about the Super Bowl or talk about 11 years, and they assume I was a dry draft pick or something, right? So a lot of times it's correcting errors. Like, oh no, I understand exactly where you are, right? I know you're on the practice squad. You bounce from the practice squad 1 week, 3 weeks to the active roster for 3 or 4 weeks, and then back down to the practice squad based on the injuries that have happened. I understand where you are financially, mentally, physically. I know that you were on the practice squad busting your butt all year, and you just got here to this meeting, to this team, so you don't even know anybody. Matter of fact, you know us because we saw you at the Collegiate Bowl or at the Combine or at the draft or at the Rookie Premiere, and now you're here at another team. We probably the only face you do know. So you try to tap into understand, like, look, I am you, right? I am you, and back when I played, and here are some of the things that I did, and here are some of the myths that I can debunk, from you, like when everybody thinks that all salaries are guaranteed or that everybody's health care is taken care of, right? Not so. We need 3 years in order to have 5 years post-health care, right? These are things that guys aren't thinking about, because when they go to the dentist, for the last 5 or 6 years, they made an appointment, they go, the insurance covered it, right? But when you're out and you're under 3 years and you don't play, well, now those things are important. So and to answer your question, we're able to weave in those. I'm able to weave in personal stories, but more just to relate to where they are right at that point.
And it's interesting how you kind of showed how you went from the Saints, and like you said, it was kind of dysfunctional, and then you built your way up to where everybody wants to be, winning the Super Bowl, having success. So for those guys, like you said, because we see, and it's great to have the Cam Newtons and the Odell Beckhams, like the guys in the spotlight, but like you said, the majority of our guys don't have that same story or that same journey. So when they see you and you tell them not only, because I think a lot of people might see the union as just like an insurance company, like we call you when we need you, and it's usually after their career when they need us. But what do you try to tell them as far as benefits wise for those guys that are going from contract to contract, or trying to just figure out their lives while they're playing football and then after football too?
I think the main message is you are an individual, but you are a part of a whole, and every part is the same. When it comes to the PA, when it comes to the Players Association and their union, doesn't matter if you're an undrafted rookie free agent, don't matter if you're a star, it doesn't matter how you played on Sunday. None of that is irrelevant. It don't matter if you win or lose. If you're on a terrible team like the Saints when I was, and you're only winning 3 games, Cleveland Browns right now, my guys in Cleveland, right? They are just fighting and scratching for a win. That doesn't, their on the field performance is up to them. However, everything outside of that is what we look out for them for. It's like the eye in the sky or big brother, right? Because what can happen is a team like that, for instance, they're losing, so they're grasping at straws.
Right.
We have rules in place so that, because it would be real quick for a coach or coaching staff to say, well, we're going to hit more. Put them in pads because you're not tough enough. That's what they did when I played. You're not tough enough. And so you would do all these ridiculous drills to make you tough because you were losing, right? Well, we have rules now, right? And so you can't lose your mind as a coach. And if you do, then we're going to come after you. And we don't put the player in that position to have to be like, excuse me, that my coach is whatever, when you're not going on the stand. So it's things like that. And then so then you got the purists who is like, yeah, but the quality of football is going down. They need to hit more. Well, we have records of health and safety of injuries, let's say. It says 100% rate. We have 100% rate of injuries in the National Football League. There are like 3,000 injuries that were recorded last year, and there's only 1,900 players, right? 1,600 that are playing active. So, no, these things are in place for a reason, and it's because of the health and safety of the players, and that's universal. So I think we're able to, because of the things that we've done, like particularly we've now in the scholastic outreach, we have a high school program that we work with. We have our pipeline to the pros that we go out and we speak to them. And then, of course, when they're in the league, and then when they transition out, obviously we have the former players and the trust. But I think guys know, look, there's resources no matter where you are in this position, in your journey through your NFL career and beyond. There's resources there, and we're not just insurance. But some guys may, like the top 100 you mentioned, like an Odell Beckham, he doesn't necessarily need us because he's a brand in and of himself. But he comes to appreciate that, these are the kind of things that you're doing. Like when you get into a fight with Josh Norman and you're fined an amount that you don't like, right? We file that appeal, right? So those are the things where everybody, no matter where they are, can utilize and find something that the union has for them.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on all the different departments because, like you said, nowadays it goes all the way back to even high school. And like you said, we touch the guys with the collegiate ball and then through the end of their careers and after their careers. So as somebody who's in the post part of their football career, and you've dealt with injuries, and he's an active part of the Harvard football players study where we're trying to do different things, build up research so that we can meet the needs of our players, whether it be we're working on how to heal from ACL injuries or the mental mindset, sleep apnea, but you're really active in that side of things. So kind of talk to us about how you touch on every part of the player, and also just because, like you said, certain players might not need us now, but when they do down the line, like what are things when they're not thinking about contracts, but they're thinking about how do I get my knee replaced? What's important in our role with that?
That's a great question, and we pride ourselves on becoming a full service union. So full service means all of services and resources that you may need in order to be a better man, a better football player, a better citizen. One of our main goals as the PA of full service is we want to maximize every player's career. Okay, so when you mentioned the Harvard study, why would we give money to Harvard to do research for players' health and safety? Because we want to maximize how long a guy can play. For instance, I left after 11 seasons, but I left with an injury. I had a microfracture on my knee, which is I'm missing cartilage, so it's bone on bone, and it's very painful. You can't regrow cartilage. Well, the Harvard study we're actually finding, and we're with some researchers who are actually doing it. And there are some techniques that they are. We're not specifically regrowing cartilage, but there are techniques and other things that they're doing and that they're researching that can help to not have that bone on bone.
Right.
Well, what does that do? If I had that, if we get that and we're able to patent this technology and give it to the players, that might be 2 or 3 more years on a guy's career. Now, that was 11 for me. I don't know if it would have been 15, but maybe a guy who's 3 or 4 who has the microfracture and is facing not playing again, maybe we get him 2 or 3 more, right?
Right.
And it's things like that, and that's why I'm involved with the Harvard study, because they're doing research like that. ACL and ACL repair, it's light years from when the guys who, I never had an ACL repair, but I've seen guys even in college and high school, and they have this gigantic scar on their knee. Well, nowadays it's microscopically, so it's a small little cut. Things like that happen with time and technology, but it also the Harvard study are helping with projects like that, which again ultimately will help our main goal, which is to keep every player in the league as long as he can.
Exactly. No, it's good to know. And the last thing I wanted to ask you is just, obviously, in the news, the NFL and the union, sometimes contentious with Deflategate and the commissioner's power, and because of that, a lot of times there's a perception that we as the NFLPA are the weakest union out there. Everybody has their opinion, but for you as a former player, again, you've seen the behind the scenes, you've seen the different perspectives, and now you're working here, and I don't know if that makes you a little biased, but still, you've seen different parts. So what do you feel when you hear people say that?
I think that as a society, we are emotionally driven, always. It happens with we saw it play out with our presidential election. No matter what issue, when you mentioned Deflategate, it's emotionally driven, which causes you to which leads you down to make assumptions that are emotional in nature. So when you say we're the weakest union, or when somebody says that, I ask them, what are the facts on that? Where do you get that from?
Right.
Well, you guys signed a CBA that gave away all this money. Oh, really? Can I give you some metrics that would be interesting, right? The old CBA, we had 16 teams who spent 70% of the salary cap.
Wow.
Okay. In this new 4-year tranche CBA, every team has spent 89% or more, and some have spent 100%.
Wow.
So if we're talking economics-wise, I would say we actually are one of the strongest unions when it comes to that. Now, well, what about guaranteed contracts? Well, that's interesting. What facts? Well, like basketball, they have guaranteed contracts. Well, their CBA only says that the rookie class gets guaranteed contracts. Same with ours. Now, the CBA doesn't just directly say that in ours, but every rookie, about 90% of the rookies have fully guaranteed contracts. Well, then why do the free agents of the basketball players do it? Because they band together and said, I'm not signing a contract unless it's fully guaranteed.
Right.
Those are the messages that we took to the players this year when we were saying, look, you free agents, so what? Who's to stay free agents in 2017 in March when it starts in free agency period? What if no free agent were to sign a contract anywhere unless it was fully guaranteed? How would that change?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, see, so those are kind of things, and we can only be, the union is only as strong as its players. We have very strong players. Therefore, we have a very strong union. It just takes a little bit of giving out the proper information in order to debunk some of the myths that are there.
Right, yeah. You gotta know your facts. And you know them for sure, which is good. I don't know if we have any questions from, well, that means you were good and explaining everything good. But
so.
No, I appreciate you having us, Don, and thanks for everybody for tuning in. Tune in next week. We'll have another great leader in our union to do our Facebook Live.